We're going.
All right. Good evening to some of us on the East Coast. Good afternoon to the rest of us in Central Time, Mountain Time, maybe even a few of you on the West Coast out there. Appreciate everybody joining in. My name's Jeremy Valentine. Like Mr. Siegel last week, a referee in the Mid-American Conference. Before that, several years in the Missouri Valley. A few of our fellow Valley officials are with us, some that I've worked with and still strive to work with on a weekly basis, and then a few years with the GLIAC as well. Thanks to Nick first for putting this together. Nick and I's history goes way back, all the way to really the University of New Orleans and some Ohio State regionals in 2001, 2002. And we've been working our way through the officiating ranks ever since. So it's been a great ride, and we're still kicking and rolling as best as we can. But between Nick, myself, and so many other people on this call, it just goes to show the outstanding foundation that NERSA, the NERSA community, the NERSA tournaments, and the opportunity that we get to train with intramurals gives us, and how we're able to build off of that foundation into some extremely successful officiating careers. And I just hope that what we discussed today will be able to really help those officials who are in the high school level, working up through Division II, Division III, to get a few more nuggets and building blocks to work their way up and achieve their officiating dreams. We're going to do a little thing about offensive holding today, kind of stemming off of Dave's discussion last week about making quality calls. The biggest thing, like Dave touched on last week, there's a lot of ways that we can define a quality call. There's a lot of philosophies that we talk about that everybody hears of. Make it be there, get the big ones, leave the fender benders go. Let's fish in, so if you're going to fish in someone's pond, come out with a big fish, etc., etc. But when it comes to what is and what isn't a quality call, unfortunately, even though we've made long strides with the CFO, there's certain supervisors, conferences, levels of play, styles of play that are going to have differences on what the threshold for what a foul actually is. I know AJ's on this call, and if they call holding anytime during the regular season, they're probably going to get a downgrade. It's that absent in the GLIAC. But in other conferences out there, they want to see almost every single tug called, almost at the NFL level of stringency. So we're not necessarily going to get into what is and what isn't a holding foul here. That's not going to help this entire group. But instead, we're going to try to break these plays down and figure out an actual process that we need to perform as officials to achieve and make a quality holding foul. What we're going to do is talk about ways to see the entire block, focus on and learn how to identify suspect acts, and really ultimately develop an easy to repeat, easy to remember, easy to memorize 4-step process to achieve better accuracy for our holding calls. So if I can actually figure out how to work PowerPoint, there we go. So question is, what actually is holding? The good news is holding for roughly about 10 years, ever since we started talking about categorizing fouls, holding has been in that bin along with offensive pass interference and defensive pass interference, where we've really been able to assign categories and commit them to memory over time. This process has worked so well over the past 10 years, we're starting to create categories for other fouls. We now can think about categories for targeting, categories even for false starts and offsides. If you really dig deep enough, most of the fouls that we call can be placed into a bin or a category of one way or another. I know a lot of people talk about 4 different categories for a hold. I'm going to try to simplify it today even more and say that all holds, or at least for you engineers out there, a 6 sigma level of holding fouls, which is like 99.9999%, fall into these 3 categories: a hook and restrict, a grab and restrict, and a takedown. If you call a holding foul on the field, you should be able to say in your head, that's holding for a hook and restrict. That's holding for a grab and restrict. That's holding for a takedown. And if you're not able to say that sentence to yourself on the field, it's probably not enough for a flag. One thing I want to point out with these categories, notice the crucial highlighted word in items 1 and 2, hook and restrict, grab and restrict. These two crucial components have to exist in order to consider a foul for offensive holding. If you only have a hook or only have a grab without the restriction, it's never going to be enough. So those two things have to be combined, and that's where we see the most opportunity to improve on our holding fouls. Many people are just seeing a hook, seeing that bad hand, throwing the flag on the action before the restriction actually occurs. So once we're able to settle in on knowing that the category is a two-part category, hook and restrict, grab and restrict, we'll be able to get that much better and that much more accurate with our holding fouls. So we talk about this restriction. What constitutes or what actually is a restriction? Restrictions in the game of football come in many different sizes, shapes, and levels of severity. Notice that if we only have a restriction but we don't have the hook or grab, we're probably just talking about a legal block. Obviously, it's completely legal to restrict opponents out on the football field pretty much every single play. Almost every single play we see legal restrictions all the time. It's just when we add that second level of the hook or the grab or some other illegal use of the hands that we start worrying about these fouls. Some situations, a slight restriction isn't enough for a foul. But other situations, that same slight restriction, and I'm really talking about the deep wing officials here and maybe our line of scrimmage officials with the wideouts, that same slight restriction is all that it takes to allow the ball carrier to make a break for it. So what is a foul in one area of the field might not be a foul in the other area of the field, even though it's the exact same contact. What I'm trying to talk about when it comes to restrictions are really looking for indicators. Notice that these indicators are not necessarily a category of a foul. These indicators that we're talking about, shoulder dips, body turns and twists, pull downs, if a player takes a step away from the opponent, all of those things could be indicators that lead us to getting and achieving one of those categories that actually could warrant a flag. So we have indicators at one level, categories at another level, ultimately gets us to that flag. Indicators show up when we as officials officiate the defense. It's hard to do. Why? Because all of the keys that we're talking about, and I say keys very loosely because we're getting away from the key mentality and really going to this initial responsibility mentality. But all of our keys that we're looking at as officials are on the offense. Why? Because the offense is going to really drive the direction of the play and give us a great read on where we need to look as the play develops. Unfortunately, the offense isn't going to be the ones that really tell us if a restriction's taking place. If we officiate the defense and look for that disengagement of a block when the defender's trying to get away and pursue the ball carrier, that's where we're going to be able to see the big elements of that potential hold. The biggest thing that I've learned over the past 5 years working with Bill Lamagna, we always want to get the big ones. And what he's trained us to do as referees and what's really sunk in for me, the biggest thing that delineates should we throw a flag and should we not throw a flag is if we make the defender prove that they were held. That's going to be the key indicator that we're looking for. Did the defender prove that they were held by either losing a step in pursuit, having a body part get twisted, turned away from the ball carrier, or just simply get taken down and taken out of the play? Those methods allow us to easily decide and determine whether or not a holding foul occurred. So this 4-step process, and we'll get to some video in a little bit. This is the key to nailing some holding calls and nailing our holding calls that are out there. If you don't reach step 4, you don't have a flag. And if you live by that rule and live by that mantra, your holding accuracy will skyrocket. I am a proponent of this because I have lived this. My sophomore year in the Missouri Valley, 6 incorrect calls for holding in a season. Unreal, terrible season. And since those 6, and since training with Mr. Lemagne, developing this 4-step process that's come from Bill Carollo and Wagner, my holding accuracy personally has gone through the roof. And luckily and happily, the holding accuracy of our crews, among other officials that are on this call, have also improved significantly. So what are these 4 steps? Officiate the play and focus on our initial responsibilities. Simple. We do that every single play. Should be easy to hit step 1. That's what happens every time we snap the ball. Second thing, this doesn't happen every single play. Most of the time, the players are good. They keep things legal. But what we're doing when we actively officiate is that we're seeking out and trying to lock onto any suspect act. Another key word there, suspect act leads to indicators, which lead to categories, which lead to a foul. Now we have our 4-step process. So if we're seeing a suspect act on the field, which could be bad feet, if the player has hands outside the frame, if they're slow at the snap, if they're beat by the defender right at the snap or a defensive counter move, they're immediately suspect. That's where that indicator is going to show up. If we see an indicator, stay locked onto it, because that indicator could potentially turn into a restriction, which leads us to our category, grab and restrict, hook and restrict. And the last thing that we got to get to before we throw our flag is that step 4, the 4th step, how the restriction actually has an effect on the play. How do we know if a restriction has an effect on the play or not? That's when we talk about point of attack officiating. How are we doing so far? Nick, anything in the chat? Any questions?
Nope, all good. Nothing in the chat.
So when we talk about the point of attack, what are we talking about? The first thing, we'll define it from Wag's book, or Bob Wagner's book of football phraseology. The point of attack, as defined by Wags, is an area where a material restriction by a player prevents an opponent from making a play on the ball or ball carrier. The point of attack is rarely ever the same. Sometimes it doesn't even remain the same throughout the play. It's important for us to recognize that and understand that the point of attack is going to be dynamic as the play develops. And we'll have a video example of that very soon. The timing matters. The ball carrier location matters. Both of those are critical elements in determining where the point of attack is. And again, why does this matter? It helps us with step 4. It determines the location. Determining the location of the point of attack has a significant impact on whether or not the action around the point of attack and the restriction around the POA has an effect on the overall play, which should make us warrant that flag. So the big question is, how do we improve at offensive holding? And that's what we're going to spend the next, hopefully, 45 minutes on. The first thing is moving with a purpose. If we live by the move with a purpose mantra, we are not only going to get better at holding, but we're going to get better at practically every aspect of officiating. And we're going to dig in a little bit with our video on what the move with the purpose philosophy actually is and what that means, and also how we can analyze the video when we're watching ourselves and critiquing ourselves on whether or not we are actually moving with a purpose or just simply moving out there for the sake of just trying to look good and moving. Second thing, beware the rip move. The defenders are learning that move, and it's a great counter move because not only does it help the defender get out of the block, but it also makes the defender look like he's being held. So it's crucial that we see the entire block, but also know that if we're seeing the defender trying to pull a rip, they're literally pulling that hand of the offensive player in and around their chest, making it look like the hands are outside the frame. So that's when we need to go to the feet and observe whose feet are beat where, and see if that offensive player is really losing against that block. The biggest thing, slowing down and seeing the entire play. And we're going to have a little exercise here, and I'm going to share some video that was not on the YouTube portion because I didn't want you guys to have a look beforehand and cheat. But seeing the entire play starts by focusing on our initial responsibilities and also knowing where to look when the play develops and as the play develops. That's again, trying to identify the suspect acts, which lead to the indicators, which lead to the actual categories. So when you find those and lock onto those, you're going to be able to get to those holds a lot quicker, see the entire play, digest the entire play, and make the determination on whether or not it rose to the level of a foul. The importance of slowing down and seeing the whole play, and really the importance of looking where we need to look, comes to just a factor of the way our human bodies work. And if you give me 1 second while I try to share some video here. Hopefully you're seeing the iPad now instead of the...
Yep, we're good.
Beautiful. So we have a play. We're looking at the end zone view. I'm not going to tell you much from this. You have a referee or center judge's perspective on a football play. But the exercise I want to do is to have everyone just hold their fingers out in front of their face and put about 3 to 4 feet of space between your fingers. And as this video plays, I'm going to trust that you all don't cheat. I'd like you to move your eyes from side to side. So keep your head facing forward. And if you want to see me in the video, I'll do it. Keep your head facing forward directly at the screen. And just move your eyes from side to side, looking at your fingers as quick as you can, right to left. And as you're doing that, I'm just going to play this video and continue to look side to side with your fingers while your head is focused directly at the screen. We've seen the play, and I'm going to put it out there for everyone. You can either throw it in the chat window or you can throw it out there and unmute yourselves. Which player held? And nobody knows. Why is that? We were all staring, our faces should have been focused directly at the screen. So our focus was pointing right at the video that we should be looking at. However, with our eyes moving back and forth from side to side, what's interesting is even though our eyes are physically moving across the screen every time they switch from the left hand to the right hand, we can't see what's going on as our eyes move. That's a natural human body element called a saccade. This natural trait of our bodies causes our brain to literally shut our eyes off as they move from side to side. When that happens, our nerves in our brain or our nerves in our eyes are not processing what our eyes are seeing while our eyes are moving from one point to the other. If they did, we would be in complete disarray and dizzy because it would just be an absolute blur as we're moving from point A to point B. Why is this important in football? Well, if we're focused on the left tackle on this play and get to the right tackle late because we didn't identify a suspect act quick enough, the actual restriction could occur during a saccade. Those saccades take about anywhere from 1/10 to 2/10 of a second. The average football play is what? About 3 seconds, correct? So if we're losing 1/10 to 2/10 of a second on a saccade, if we go from the left tackle to the right tackle and back to the left tackle, that's 2 saccades, and we've just lost 10% of that football play. We have no recollection of what went on. We're never going to get it back, and we're never going to be able to understand what happened. So now focusing on the video, I just want you, I'm not going to tell you who holds, but you're all going to see how obvious this hold is because you're all focusing on the play and focusing where we need to right now. Blatant takedown by our right tackle. Correctly called by a referee, but this stresses the importance, now that we're looking at this, how easy it is to see and identify the suspect act. but how difficult it could be if we choose to not focus on the right thing at the right time. So that's the key indicator. That's the key to getting our offensive holds right. It's quickly identifying those suspect acts, locking onto those so we can observe the restriction, and getting into our categories for the foul. So suspect act is here. The right tackle's feet are beat. It turns into the restriction and bad hands, another suspect act. The restriction's the clear takedown. It clearly has an effect on the play because we prevent a potential QB hurry or clear sack. We get through 4 steps, the referee throws their flag, we have a foul here. Interesting concept, but it's completely true, and it's absolutely unbelievable when I heard about that from Walt Anderson a couple of years back. And it makes perfect sense. The more you look back and forth on the football field, the less you're actually going to be able to not just retain, but even observe, because your mind is literally shut off as your eyes move back and forth. Questions, comments about that?
Clean in the chat. Good stuff.
All right, we'll keep rolling. To the video. This first play, I don't have a poll for. I want to bring up a good example of everything coming together. This is me being the blind squirrel who found a nut. I searched through the entire bit of holding calls in my entire season and was only able to find this one. So at least I was good on one holding call this year. But this play has a little bit of everything. It has a point of attack that changes. It has an official that slows down, processes everything, and makes sure that all 4 steps are met before the foul actually takes place. So if you see initially, the point of attack, as shown by all of our offensive linemen, including the running back, was to the left, to the center judge's side. And if we shut off right now and think that that's going to be the end of the point of it, or the end of the play because he swarmed, we might again miss some key and crucial action. But all of a sudden, the point of attack changes, and it goes from the left side of the line straight over to the right side of the line. We see action by our tight end, which looks suspect, but it happens early in the play. It's the initial thrust of the tight end. But the flag doesn't come out and land until well after the play develops and well after that point of attack is defined, and until we were assured that that actual restriction had an overall effect on the play. Look at the end zone view really quick, or actually we'll look at the timing here on the coach's sideline. And this is ideal timing and pace for your holding flags. If it's coming out sooner than this, it either needs to be blatantly obvious at the point of attack, or we're not, or you might be going a little bit too fast to develop or to process all 4 steps before we get to that, level of a foul. And finally, in the end zone, we can see the takedown by the tight end, which warranted the flag. So we'll go into a little bit of plays that you guys can interact on, and we'll discuss some things afterward. Nick's going to be running the polls, so we'll take a look at things there. Am I missing anything in the chat? Nope, so we're good to go. First play. The question that you guys are going to see on the poll when it does pop up is, why shouldn't this action be flagged for offensive holding? We'll give you all 3 views. Action called occurs around here, number 79. So go ahead and throw the poll up there, Nick.
It's there.
So why shouldn't this action be flagged for holding? A, not enough restriction. B, no effect on the play. Or C, are you kidding? This is clearly a foul for offensive holding.
You know, I like running these polls because I don't have to stick my neck out here.
Yeah, I left them. I don't think they're anonymous either. I forgot to check that box. So you're gonna put your neck on the line. And Nick, I can't see the results, so these are all gonna be you. You might have to share your screen in order to make it happen too.
I just shared the results. Can you not see them? I shared it with everybody. Can everybody else see them?
Is it in the chat? Nope.
I can see him, Nick.
1 for not enough restriction and 11 for no effect on the play.
Beautiful. And the majority clearly wins there. No effect on the play is our answer. Yeah, there is enough restriction there. It's a takedown. And it's a clear takedown by the tackle. But we need to get to step 4 before we throw our flag. Did this have an effect on the outcome of the play? Absolutely not. It was either going to be a sack by player A or player B on the defense. Does it really matter who? No, they're going to decline the foul anyways, or they decline this foul anyways. But we saw that takedown that occurs at the 32-yard line here. It is a takedown. There is restriction there. The referee gets to step 3 in our process, but he never got to step 4, and he didn't hold it or hold his flag enough to get him to step 4 and see how the play develops. I'm sure if he waited that half a second to digest not just what he's seen, but also what the result of the play was, he would have kept that flag in his pocket and saved himself from a potential downgrade. Any other questions there? We were pretty good. That was a nice warm-up, over 20 or over 90%. So this second question, we're going to be looking at the left guard, number 74 on this play. The block occurs at the 14-yard line. We get a good ISO on it with the TV replay. When the polls do come up, we're going to say what crucial element's going to be missing from this action to warrant a foul for offensive holding. Again, we're not asking whether or not this should or shouldn't be a foul call. Some people might say yes, some people might say no. I'm purposely putting pretty obvious correct calls or incorrect calls up here for that very reason. So this was a miss. This is a foul that was flagged that shouldn't be called. My question to all of you is why? Nick, you can throw it up there if you'd like.
I'll wait till they finish the replay here.
So option 1 is going to be no officials around to see the action on this play. Option 2 is there's no suspect act. Option 3, not enough restriction. Option 4, no effect on the play. So again, just trying to see where we are in this process. And we'll get to the end zone. If you haven't voted yet, take a look at the end zone view in real time. And go ahead and vote.
Votes are in.
And how do we do?
8 for not enough restriction and 5 for no effect.
Okay. The majority still rules, and that's what I like. And the question that I have for all of us is, for those that said no effect on the play, was this, did you vote when we were watching the slow motion replay on the TV feed, or did you vote when we were looking at this fast motion or real-time video from the coach's film? It's amazing to kind of see how we can make something look a lot worse than what it is if we slow something down frame by frame versus playing it in real time. Because in this coach's film even, we can see a suspect act that's clear. Hands are outside the frame, defender is trying to disengage. There's even a little bit of a jersey stretch here. But what other indicators are we looking for? Did the defender actually lose a step? Was there significant body twisting or a shoulder dip? The answer to that question is no. So yeah, there was a slight jersey grab, but not enough that actually resulted in a restriction. And what makes things interesting is if we slow that thing down like we did, it could look bad. Not enough. So when we're reviewing our film, when we're breaking down our game film, the first thing we should do, especially when it comes to calls like this, watch it in real speed and see if that defender actually does lose a step or gets affected or impacted with his momentum, or if he's able to just slide down the block like he does here and continue his pursuit. Questions or concerns about that play?
All clear,
Comments?
Richard.
You guys just want to hear me talk the entire time? We can make this interactive. I don't want to be the only guy. I've yet to give the perfect presentation, so you guys better step up on that one. I know I'm going to screw up somewhere. You guys just got to call me out on it. I think I'm going to count on Fultz or AJ to, or no, Pistone's online. She'll call me out when I screw up. All right, third play, Northwestern and Stanford. We're looking at the left tackle. And again, we're just going through our process. My question to you all is, what process here, what process step did the center judge throw his flag on? Step 1, step 2, step 3, or step 4? If you threw on step 4, you're agreeing that this was a good call for holding.
This is a two-part question, so you need to get into both of them
Oh, that's
before I
right.
launch.
So the first part of this was, what step did he throw on? The second part is why. So this is where we're going to break down the video a little bit more. This is a fun one. So first question, what part does he throw on? Second question, what do you think the reason is for his incorrect call? And when it comes to evaluating our calls, correct or incorrect, when we're looking at our game film and doing our own self-critique, it's important to kind of dig in and ask the question why, especially for our incorrect calls. If you're able to find a root cause on what happened and what occurred on the play to cause you to throw your flag, you're going to be able to implement some corrective actions to make sure that same mistake doesn't happen again.
Polls up.
I think that was it. The poll is out. I think our end zone shot was one of the biggest ones, or most telltale signs that we had. So it's the action by the left tackle, 76. Clearly not a hold. There's no restriction at all. He maintains superior feet. And Nick, what do we have?
Give it another second or two for everybody to finish voting.
Okay.
The majority went with step 2 on part 1 and didn't fully digest what was observed for part 2.
Okay. Wow, majority didn't say all of the above on part 2. That's surprising. So everybody nailed it, for at least the majority nailed it for question 1. He locked onto a suspect act where there might be a hand slightly outside the frame here. That's considered suspect. The feet are somewhat beat as well, but this quickly turns into a potential double team. There's 3 guys on offense. There's 2 guys on defense in this area. Someone's going to get double teamed and lose. Turns out to be not the guy who's suspect, but unfortunately, the tackle does a miraculous job recovering here, maintaining his feet, and placing just enough restriction legally on that defender for the ball carrier to sweep around him. So yes, the center judge here threw on step 2. Didn't even get to step 3 before he decided to throw the flag. Now, why did this happen? First one, is he moving when this block occurs? Absolutely. Why was he moving? Because the darn quarterback snapped the frickin' ball before he was able to get out of there. Nothing we can potentially do about that. It's unfortunate, and there's some things that happen on the football field that require us to be moving during the live ball and while play's going on. We try to avoid it as much as possible, but unfortunately for our center judges especially, It's extremely difficult to do. But what is our center judge also doing as he's running backwards when the snap is imminent? Boom. For some reason, he thought it necessary to count 11 when our umpire and referee have already done so. Yes, we love it when our center judges count 11 players with us, but with the mechanics in both 7 and 8 man, primary, and now H and L are primary on counting the offense. We have 4 officials counting the offense every single play. We'd love to get that 5th official in 8-person mechanics, but in situations like this, where you're holding players for subs, the center has his hands over the ball, we as center judges need to prioritize. The first thing that can go is counting players to 11. Because where is our center judge focused when the snap happens? He's looking at a wide out all the way across on the other side of the field. So he has to go from the far side of the field outside the hash marks to his tackle. We talked about the importance of looking where we need to look, all at the same time while he's in motion, still trying to retreat back to his position. So our poor center judge here is screwed from the get-go. Second thing that happened, as we break down this video even more, as the block develops, center judge has a pretty good angle. He should be able to see this, but when it develops even further, it turns into a slight straight line. Harder for the center judge to see. When does our center judge make this decision? Pretty instantaneous. Yes, the flag comes late, but he's reaching the couple microseconds after the block actually occurs. I highly doubt he had time to fully digest what was observed. So the correct answer here is all of the above, because when we break this thing down, our center judge really was in trouble from the get-go, all because he decided to unnecessarily count players. Again, importance of focus, importance of doing our necessary mechanics, and if we are rushed, we need to know what is critical and crucial in our pre-snap routines and what we might be able to set aside and hold off for another play. I'll let you all discuss with your crews and your own personal preparation to determine what elements of your pre-snap routines those might be, because they'll often differ by position. Anything on that play?
Nope, all clear in chat.
Thanks, Pistone. I appreciate you watching out. Okay, 5th play. Oh, what am I looking at here? 4th play, CMU and Akron. We're looking at the wing official here. This might be Brigati, I'm not quite sure. But we're gonna, again, try to analyze this call and try to figure out why this call was incorrect. We're looking at the wide receiver here, the slot back, and our motion back. Our question here is going to be practically the same thing we had for our center judge. Why did our official incorrectly flag this action for offensive holding? They didn't see the whole play. They didn't reach step 4 before throwing the flag. They missed the double team block by the left tackle, or they failed to get a lot of input or much needed input from our center judge. And the last option, clearly all of the above. Action right at the 35-yard line. Referees always look good. I might go back to that view just to make a couple comments for our referees out there. Coach's sideline doesn't show us much. Here's our end zone with the center judge's vantage point that we should be able to see, again, looking at our motion back. Yes, the defender falls here. Yes, this looks like a takedown, but does looking like a takedown constitute a foul? What causes the defender to actually fall over here. It's the additional block by the left tackle. Unfortunate for our wing back or our motion back. A little bit of a bonus for the defender. So let's go ahead and lock in our votes. So we'll do
Already,
that. Say again?
already done.
Sweet. What do we get?
8 for all of the above and 5 for didn't see the whole play.
I love it. All of the above is definitely the way to go there. Now, as promised, going back to our announcement here, a little blurb for referees. This applies to practically to any and all levels. Division 1, Division 2, Division 3, doesn't really matter. Look where our referee is right now in this discussion, in the midst of a pile of players. And where is our opening here as referees for an announcement? There's some here, or there's what this referee decides to do. And as they zoom into them, look at how close and look how easy it is the camera is able to find you. They came in and found the referee and locked right onto him while he's in the middle of a pile of 11 players. No issue at all for the camera and the vantage point from the press box. Yet we still, as a referee, decide to walk through the entire team, walk about 10 yards, and then enter into our announcement. This is where we can impact our efficiency. That took about 10 seconds to walk that far. We do that 15 times for 15 fouls. That's 150 seconds we can shave off of our game time just by changing the direction we want to go during a foul. And instead of walking through this entire mess, we just step right out here and make our announcement 2 steps away. Next play. How am I doing on time? 15 minutes. Beautiful. We're going to focus on our wide receiver here. This is going to be quite a long play. That block that occurs at the 29-yard line. I'll just let it play. Our umpire does a good job of putting funny air into that whistle and killing the clock because his flag's on the field. The unfortunate thing is that the umpire was the one who threw that flag. Head scratchers can plague us, especially when they're calling back touchdowns. And we as officials always need to have that sense of awareness that's going on in our head to say, hey, if something doesn't seem right or if something seems really off, it probably is. Flanagan, go ahead and comment on this if you'd like, or if you want, unmute. How many flags have you ever thrown for holding on wide receivers as an umpire? Now Flanagan's out, hopefully pouring another bourbon. Any other umpires in the room? We got to recruit more umpires. Holy cow! But okay, let's talk about our officiating partners, our position officials. How many times have we all seen an umpire throw a flag on a wide receiver?
Jeremy, this is Steve.
Hey, Steve.
Sorry, I was having trouble unmuting. That's the first time I've ever seen an umpire call a holding on a wide receiver. He should not even be looking at that.
Exactly.
At all. So I actually thought first time looking through on YouTube that it was a short wing or deep wing who threw on that, but now you said it was an umpire. That's appalling. He should not even be looking at that. There's too much going on in the line activity for him to clear to even get there. We should never even think of throwing offensive hold on a wide receiver, and that's not enough of a restriction. If there's any restriction there, guys already buy him if there's nothing there.
Absolutely.
I mean, yeah. Don't. You talked about in the beginning. If you're going to fish in someone else's pond, make sure it's a big fish. That's not even bait. That's nothing.
So let's go ahead and open up the poll here. Our umpire throws this flag on number 83. Who has the best chance of saving our crew? This thing is calling back an 80-yard run. We need a crew save here. who on this crew was going to step up and say, nope, not today. That you called it on who? 83? Not going to happen. Options are either line of scrimmage official. Option 2, the far side deep wing. Option 3, the near side deep wing. Option 4, the back judge. Option 5, no one. The U's going to be on his own little island here. Go ahead and lock in your votes. We have a guest coach from Lake Erie on the call today. Coach McNally, great to have you online.
We got a split between the near and far side deep wing as the high number, and the back judge also got votes.
That's outstanding. I'm glad that, and that's the question I wanted to have here, is to figure out how much people think that this far side or these two far side officials are going to be able to be engaged on this particular play. By the time this play breaks, what is our far side line of scrimmage official doing on this particular play? Possibly focused on this block right here? Or is he going to be watching the ball carrier make a break for it, enjoying taking the rest of the play off? Hopefully he's not doing the latter portion of that, and he might actually get a look at this block and not only be able to look at that block, but also see the aftermath of the umpire throwing his flag. Our far side line of scrimmage official might have a great opportunity at coming in and telling the umpire, nope, let's pick this up. I saw that too. The crucial answer, or the key answer, would be whoever's key or initial piece of responsibility that is, our far side deep wing. That's his key. He should be watching that action from start to finish, because it doesn't become suspect until it's actually at the point of attack. There is no reason why our deep wing should be able to come in and get our umpire off of this foul, aside from the fact is because it's such a long run, he might have been caught and taken aback that the umpire had holding, thinking it might have been an interior line play hold, and all of a sudden over the microphone we hear number 83. Question to the gallery: when you hear over the microphone the referee say number 83 holding, and when we watch the umpire start walking it off, is it too late to come in and fix it? Anybody out there? Siegel.
What's your question there, Jeremy?
The question here is, when we have this foul, we're trying to analyze, since this was the deep wings, the far side deep wings key, why, or would it be too late as a far side deep wing, assuming that he didn't come in and fix it because he didn't even know who the flag was on, seeing a flag from the umpire, thinking it was going to be an interior lineman, and all of a sudden we hear a referee announce holding offense number 83, who was his key 10-yard penalty, replay second down. We're marching off the ball, or we put it down, and it finally clicks in our deep wing's head. Holy shit, 83 was my guy, and he didn't do anything. Can we still fix it?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, it's something that you learn only because you missed opportunities to fix plays before. But we can always fix something until the next snap. It's defined in the rule book that way, but you know, we would much rather take the 2 minutes of embarrassment at the far length of time on this play, as opposed to having a conversation in the locker room afterwards, having a conversation on the ride home, or on Sunday, or when you look at the film, or when you look at grades, or whatever. So it's real important. Try to listen to the announcement over the PA. I know in some stadiums it's easier, some it's more difficult, but it's real crucial for every official to listen to that referee's announcement. And in this case, yeah, if you heard number 83 and that was your key, and you know, what the heck did this guy do? You know, make a scene and have a conversation to get it right.
Yep. Again, quoting Lamagna, wise men say, it's better than to look like shit and get the play right than to just plain old look like shit. pardon my French, but I'm going to quote him as he should be quoted. And it couldn't be more true. I cannot stress enough, and this again applies at all levels, the sinking pit in your stomach that you're going to feel and the potential embarrassment, because yes, this is going to hinder our crew perception a little bit for 30 or 45 seconds until that TV replay can get back up there, is going to, yes, initially feel bad, but feel so much better than the phone call that the referee is going to have to get when his supervisor calls, than the phone call the supervisor is going to get before he calls the referee from the head coach and athletic director, wondering why we cost their team 80 yards on this play, and the aftermath that the crew is going to have to deal with downstream as a result of this incorrect flag pickup. We've been talking about this play for over 10 minutes now because this flag wasn't picked up and we didn't take the extra 30 seconds on the field to get the call right. If the deep wing in this case, or any other official who's seen this and seen this entire action, took that 30 seconds to come in and get the play right, what is it, 18 of us aren't even talking about it right now. It's never seen again, never looked at by an observer, a grader, an evaluator. Why? Because the crew got the play right. And that's what it's all about.
JD, question from the chat. So let's say we go through this process and we recognize that the umpire's thrown this flag and we want to get in there and pick it up after the announcement started. And as a result of that, somebody misplaces the end of the run. What are some tips to make sure we either don't lose the end of the run, or how do we find it again if we happen to lose it?
Two different answers for that. First answer are games with replay. We have O2Os. Those guys are going to be a great help. If you can get on the horn with replay, since we're going to be fixing something, and say, hey, where did that run end? They can quickly say the 22-yard line, the plus 22. Say, great, thanks, 1st and 10 from the 22. After the referee announces, correction, the action by number 83 has been deemed legal, the result of the play will stand, 1st and 10. If we don't have replay, things get a little bit dicier, and now we have to kind of look into some other tools that we can possibly figure out or possibly utilize to our advantage. The first one is always that nice Jumbotron that many of our stadiums have at the Division II and even Division III levels now. If somebody can take a quick little peek at that Jumbotron while we're discussing plays, while we're discussing things as a crew, we might be able to get an indicator on where the result of the play was. If you don't have a Jumbotron, there's a good chance that the clock operator might have already clicked 1st and 10, ball on the 22, and we might be able to sneak a peek at that and get an indicator on where the ball should be. Lastly, if we don't know, this was a 60-yard run. If we're off by 5 yards, no one's going to care. As long as they get 55 or 65 of those yards back that they wouldn't have gotten after the holding foul, and they get that 1st and 10. Put the ball down and keep on playing. We've already hindered our perception a little bit here. Let's not continue to hinder it by showcasing more confusion on the field by not knowing where the ball should be. Yes, we can always think in an ideal world that the far side deep official or the far side line of scrimmage official, or I'm sorry, the near side press box side in this play's case, will be saving the spot for us. But unfortunately, that might not be a given every single time. So I wanted to make sure that you guys had all the tools in your arsenal for those specific acts. Answer the question, I hope.
Hey, Jeremy, I have a question. This is Bradley.
Hey, Pat. Hey, Brad.
In that situation, whenever the umpire was giving the referee the flag that he had on the field, would it be permissible, or what do you guys say at the college level, if you key your crew mics, not the mic over the for the audience to hear, but you key the crew mics and you can all kind of hear the discussion that's going on, and then at that point the deep wing could come in and make a comment, come in, talk to the referee or whatever before the referee makes the announcement. Would that be all right?
And Brad, that's a great point, and I'm glad you brought that up. And it's mainly crew preference on how much we want to use those official to official or O2O radios on our feet or on the field. But this is a great example on when O2Os are going to be extremely useful, because after our umpire throws his flag, once the play ends, and once he does the normal routine of putting funny air into the whistle, killing the clock, alerting the crew with that funny air through his whistle that we're entering penalty enforcement mode, the next step, if we're using O2Os, should just be a quick holding 83 offense, holding 83. Hopefully, when the umpire says 83, he'll realize, holy cow, 83, that's a wideout. Somebody should have that. Hey, I need to talk to you, side judge, head linesman. Let's chat before we do this. But unfortunately, it didn't click, and we ended up enforcing this foul. But yes, by all means, it's completely acceptable to come over the O2O, say what you got, and then continue the normal penalty enforcement mechanics. What I'm going to stress here is that when we're using O2Os to this nature, we use it to supplement the existing mechanics that we have, not to replace our existing penalty enforcement mechanics. So just because we say holding 83 offense and you let go of the mic doesn't mean that you should come to the referee and make a preliminary signal, have a discussion with the referee about the foul, and continue to do things like we've always done for the past 10, 15, 20 years when it comes to penalty enforcement. So one cardinal rule for any type of O2O system, and I gotta say, supplement is good, replacement is bad with our mechanics. Great point, Brad, thank you. All right, we beat this play to death. Let's move on. Indiana, Michigan. Easy poll question here, mainly looking at mechanics. What direction does our umpire cover a play? Umpire should know this pretty quickly and easily. If you're not an umpire and you don't know which direction, watch this umpire because he does it to perfection.
Polls up.
How we do there, Nick?
Most of the way there. Give it another couple seconds. Backside to front side, 6 votes, front side, backside 4, and then guard, center guard 1.
Okay, so let's break this down a little bit. Flanagan, you still with us?
I'm still here, yes.
Which way you covering this play?
Okay, I'm kind of looking what would be to the offense's right at first. So concentrating really on looking at 72 and 77, right where he got circled in there. And then
wait
there's
a second,
really
Steve. 77 is the referee's key in this case.
right.
Okay.
Right, but I mean that's kind of where it opens up. I'm not sure which way the quarterback's going to run, but that's my initial look there. Those are the threats right away that fall into my my area. 72 is covered, and at first 77 is covered. The other down lineman kind of loops way out into the center judge's area. So I mean I'll work that area, and then I'll flow over to my right to the offense's left as the play develops and the quarterback looks that way. But you're absolutely right. 77's your guy, but at first it doesn't matter if we have 1 or 2 eyes on him. I mean, we have him covered, but just the way this play opens up with the tackle or the other defensive tackle looping way out, and the way the umpire is positioned here to stay behind the linebackers, that's the view that opens up initially, and then we can work over towards the front side.
You're 100% right there, Steve. I couldn't have said it any better myself. And why is Steve going to 77 and 72 instead of staying on guard, center, guard? Well, our center isn't even threatened on this play. It would be a waste of time to have an umpire focus on a center who's going to be transitioning into nothing but a double team block with the left guard here. Why can the umpire get off of this guard? Well, he's going into a double team block with a center. So again, absolutely no reason for our umpires, who typically are on guard, center, guard, to focus on those three players. That's going to result not in a stalemate, but a victory for the offense. 2 guys against 1 guy. The offense is going to win. We never or rarely ever call holds on double team blocks. So let's figure out where the next threat's going to be. Next threat's going to be on number 72. And while he's at it, like Steve said, hey, let's give our referee a little bit of help here with number 77. We can get these 2 one-on-one matchups taken care of a lot better. And I apologize for just touching the screen when I shouldn't have. We'll be able to cover those 2 matchups on the right side of the line much better by focusing on the area where the suspect acts can occur. So not only are we looking for suspect acts on plays, but we're also looking for opportunities to eliminate certain players that are going to no longer be a threat for this particular play. As the play develops, the umpire is going to go from the backside once we have a front side versus backside established. Right now it's a stalemate. And now we're going front side to backside. So you can see our center judge should be looking at the front side. And 7-man, our referee, needs to transition to the front side. Harder for referees to do in 7 official mechanics, which means they need to recognize these sweeps a lot more often and get that movement over to the left side to help cover this action, knowing that our umpire is going to be looking at that side blocking, regardless of if the play goes to the right or to the left. So that's breaking down our mechanics in 7-man and 8 official mechanics with our front 3. Any questions about that? You know, analyzing the actual hold by number 72 there, you can see as the defender attempts to disengage and pursue the quarterback, 72's got a nice grab with his left hand. The defender's unable to disengage, even though he reaches for a potential sack. When he loses that step there while he's reaching, that's him proving that he was held. And that's what makes it enough for the restriction to occur at the point of attack and warrant the flag to come in for our umpire for the correct holding. We good, Nick? Anybody else? We're going to move on.
We're good. Keep on rolling.
I'm running late, so we'll try to get these in closed out quick. Time score situation, or I guess KJ Hamler's stats. Now we got time score and situation. Holy cow, big game. Second half. Line judge, field judge are on the bottom of the screen. Head linesman, side judge are on the top. We're looking at the right tackle on this play. My question to the group is, how many flags should we have on this play? We just talked about keys. We just talked about mechanics. Luckily, we don't have to figure out and debate whether or not this is or isn't a hold. It's pretty blatant, pretty obvious. But how many people should be calling it? What's our coverage like? Options. Number 1, in goal line coverage, the referee's on his own with this tackle. Number 2, goal line coverage is no excuse for the head linesman to stop officiating. AJ, you're on deck. Be ready to answer because I'm calling on you next. Get this ISO over here.
11 to 1 for 11-1 for the goal line is no excuse for the head linesman to stop officiating.
All right. AJ was probably the one. Come on, AJ.
Yeah, I can jump in here. No, I was not the one. And then I will agree that this is a hold, although I can't say I agree on many of the other ones. No, on this, we're snapping from the 7 and in, so line of scrimmage officials at the snap are moving to the goal line. But to your point, that doesn't take us off the hook, right? And so on this play, run it back. You can run it back if you want, but we at the snap, we're flowing. Initial responsibilities. It looks like we would have that wing back at the top of this. Headline judge would have that wing back right there. He's free of foul right now. He can't foul. He's free of foul. we're getting a good look, especially in 7. We have to have a good look at that tackle. But even in 8, and he goes away. Yeah, I mean, we're focused on 71 right there. And if 71 was good, hands were good, feet were good, all the check, then our eyes are going to move out to that wide receiver. But no, to your point, we're flowing, but we're on that tackle, and we should absolutely have a flag down on 71's hold on that.
A lot more difficult when our line of scrimmage officials are moving. And thank you, AJ. Way to nail it again. I appreciate it.
Hey, this is Frank. Hitler,
Go ahead, Frank.
is your body moves, but your head stays. So your head stays with your person, but your body's moving to the goal line.
Perfect. Input from a deep official really quick. Fultz, I know you're online. Your ideal position and setup when you're on a pylon as a deep wing.
Oh, so we're snapping at the 7, so we're on the back pylon.
Sure, so let's make this the 10. Where are you standing here?
If possible, depending on how many people are right there, just move them. Actually, when you get out to the stadium to start the game, take that G and move it as far back as possible, because you want to start on the limit line.
Okay, and that's what we're looking for. You want, as a deep wing, our deep wings are starting on the limit line on goal line plays. Why is that, Bill?
You want as much vision as possible. You want to move as little as possible.
Yep. By starting on the limit line, square to the goal line, your movement is reduced. Your field of vision is significantly wider than starting on the sideline. And most importantly, your chances of dying are much less when you have a pylon play and you're going to get contacted or the play's coming right at you and you need to make a ruling while trying to survive at the same time. My question then goes to our line of scrimmage officials. Since being back at the limit line is our ideal position when we're covering the goal line as a deep wing official, and as line of scrimmage officials, when that's the case, we set up on the sideline to help out with the sideline, since knowing that our deep wings aren't going to be able to cover it. When we're at the 7 and in, why aren't we the exact opposite? This deep wing is set up to help out on the sideline call, but our line of scrimmage officials, for some reason, are setting up just about 3 feet off the line of scrimmage. If this play happens to come out any wider, it's going to cause this official to move. His head's going to bob up and down. He's going to lose focus, and we have a chance of missing a call or getting a call wrong. My challenge to line of scrimmage officials, and again, disclaimer, do what your supervisor wants, do what your crew wants, but a challenge I have to line of scrimmage officials, when you're at the 7, start at the limit line. Then all you need to do when we snap the ball is move straight laterally downfield along the limit line until you get to the goal line. So then once you're set up at the goal line, you're set with your width, you're set exactly where we need to be in the ideal Cadillac position of any other deep wing official out there. The deep wing guys are going to get jealous because I just told the line of scrimmage officials how to master goal line calls. If we don't do that and just keep our normal width at the 7, to properly position ourselves, we're going to have to run back at some crazy weird angle and hope that we're stopping at the right width and stopping at the goal line to put ourselves in that Cadillac position. So take some movement that you're going to have to do anyways out of the equation during the live ball and take that movement and fix it during the dead ball and set yourself back up at the limit line. You just got one direction after that, a lot less movement while the ball's live, probably a better chance knowing that you already have your width on this play that's coming your way, looking at inherent doom, potentially get that holding call by number 71.
I would say, Jeremy, before we move off of this, one way to make sure you keep that limit line or you keep that space clear is to tell your chain crew, line of scrimmage guys in the beginning of the game to make sure that they're working on the limit line the closer they get down to the goal line, so you got that plenty of space to work.
All right, same play, or actually same game, I'm sorry, same drive actually, 2 plays later. We banged them for one holding call already. and they're still knocking on the door. And guess what? We're going to get them again. So instead of 1st and goal from the 1, now it's 3rd and goal after they threw an incomplete pass from the 11.5. We're looking at the action on the bottom of our screen, and now we're going to analyze what's going on with our line judge. This is our last play of the game tonight. And let's think back to the key indicators on what we need to do to correctly call holding fouls and ways that we can nail and improve our accuracy on holding fouls. So we get this correct by the center judge, but again, this is one where we should probably have 2 flags in this play. We're outside the 7. There's no goal line responsibility for our line of scrimmage officials to use that as an excuse. So what causes our line judge to miss this foul? Answer possibilities. Answer 1, it's the guard. It's not the line of scrimmage officials guy. Number 2, unnecessary movement or improper block progression caused our line judge to miss this. Number 3, he's straight lined. Or number 4, are you kidding? That's no way that's a holding foul. And the line judge properly passed on this call. Watch number 74. We'll let Nick throw the poll up and go ahead and lock in your votes.
Clear majority with unnecessary movement, all but 1.
I love it. And we can really see it on the coach's tape here. Why is this movement unnecessary? Why do we talk about moving with a purpose? If we analyze our line of scrimmage officials' movement here and go frame by frame, we notice that as the restrictions taking place, our line judge is already starting to move downfield. Line of scrimmage officials, Nick, if you want to take this one, go ahead and jump in. Is there any reason as a line of scrimmage official to start moving when the ball carrier is parallel with you?
No, and there's even less reason to move the closer you are to the goal line because you're not going to go all the way to the pylon. So if we're inside the 10, 10 to 7 especially, I'm going to make sure that runner is clearly past me before I do anything heading downfield.
And that is the crucial element that we're looking at on this play. Not only is the line judge moving when he shouldn't be on any running play, but he's moving when he shouldn't be, especially on this running play this close to the goal line. The last thing we want to do as a football crew is have 2 looks on the field that are the exact same look or the exact same vision. And when we're not in goal line coverage, every step that the line judge takes closer to the goal line brings his look closer to the exact same look that the field judge has for no reason at all. We're much better off as a crew having this wide angle from the pylon and having this wide angle from the 10-yard line versus our line of scrimmage official coming down here and sharing the exact same view and angle as our field judge. Because now we have this entire area that we could be covering from back here wide open for potential coverage. And really that's where, if our line judge stays home, yes, he might be a little straight line now, but if he stays home and stays back at the 10 or 11 yard line, that would open up perfectly for him, and he'd be able to come in and help out with our center judge on that. That's the key about move with a purpose. That's the key, and this is really how we want to analyze our film when we're looking at ourselves each and every week, or even during the off-season play-by-play. Break it down step by step. And the minute you see yourself make a move like this, ask yourself why. Did I move with a purpose? What was the reason I moved just now? Was it to improve my angle on the play? Was it to improve my vision or overall vision of the field? If you can't say yes to either of those, chances are you shouldn't have moved and you should have stayed home in that present position. With that, that's our last play. I'm going to open it up to the fields. I'm sorry for running about 15 minutes over, but I appreciate you guys sticking it out with me. Any questions or comments? Any thoughts?
Must have
That's
done
too easy.
too good a
Nick?
job to, must have done way too good a job there, Jeremy.
I doubt that. You guys are just sick of hearing me talk. It's like, holy cow, end this stupid thing. Nick, go ahead and take it. I'll leave it up to you if you want to close things out. And
Yeah.
I appreciate the opportunity again, everybody. And if you have any questions, you have my email. You have my some of you have my cell phone. Get a hold of Nick. He'll forward them on to me as well. But best of luck. Enjoy the rest of the spring. Nick, go ahead, take it away.
All right, just a few real quick things of note for everybody. You can see on the screen, I've put up the upcoming call schedule. Hopefully you can see that. Next week, AJ will be presenting on unnecessary roughness and targeting. I'll get the link out to that in a calendar invitation here by the end of the week. And then we'll get into the next week or the following week, we will be doing a pre-snap routine and crew expectations presentation that will be brought to you by several people. And then we'll kind of keep digging from there. Some things that are always helpful for the group. If you see we have some available dates. If you want to sign up to present to this group, hopefully that's something you might be interested in. Don't hesitate to pop your name out there. I'll make sure that if you have any questions about getting on the list, we can do that. And then finally, no test review calls in the next 2 weeks while we build the test bank back up. So if you have tests from your groups that you don't think I've seen, email them to me. But we will resume the test calls on June the 1st with the COC off-season test number 2. So that's kind of where we're at. Jeremy, I think I speak for everybody here when I say thanks for your time tonight. I appreciate you putting it together, and thanks everybody for joining us. Enjoy the rest of your evening, and we'll see you here next week. So take care, everybody.
Have a good night.
Thank you all.
Thanks, everyone. Have a great night.
See ya.